herzlich willkommen zurück auf another Victory Monday, this time on a Wednesday. I'm your host, Richard. Joining me, Jack. He's back. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing well. Glad to be with you. This was a result that I think we needed on the heels of kind of reaching the top. It was sort of like a statement win, so I'm looking forward to getting into that and some other stuff with you tonight.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. El Waflo's in the house. Gluck auf on a Victory Wednesday. Absolutely. Second podcast of the week if you're catching along or counting along. Important victory. We extended our lead at the top, which is even more important, especially with Elversberg beating Paderborn, kind of helping us out. The top 7 is very tight, especially 2 through 7, all within a couple points. So, hey, the more they can beat each other up and let us separate a little bit, I'm all happy about that. Rundown tonight. Obviously, on Monday, we talked about the 4 talking points. Tonight, we're going to be more game specific. We're going to obviously get in depth into the game, go minute by minute on the game, then look at some takeaways from the game in terms of highlights, some kicker 11 news, talk about Kenan Karaman's 100th appearance, talk about Gelsenkirchen, and talk about Karius's big day. And then we're probably going to end this all out with talk about the Knappensschmiede and the Frauen as well. But let's kick things off. And before we even get into the game, we can talk about the fans, Jack. The away fans, we talk about how amazing the fan base is at home with the tifos and everything. But on the road, the contingent that travels with the club is amazing. And yes, this is the Westfalia derby. This is a local derby. But 22,000 away fans in a 51,000-seat stadium. That's unreal, Jack. That's nearly 50%. That's amazing.
Yeah, take your hats off to this, the traveling contingent. Obviously, it's pretty incredible. And it's always cool when you're watching, the broadcast of a Schalke away match and you're hearing Schalke fans or Schalke chants at somebody else's stadium, like clearly coming through on a broadcast. That's always a pretty cool thing as well, whenever that happens. So, very much.
No, that was awesome to hear. That's good news considering, heading into the game. One of the key cogs for our team, one of the guys who helps make it all happen, Ron Schallenberg, wasn't available for this game, had a little bit of an injury. I don't know if he got overextended for all the playing he's had this season or just, whatever it was, but he wasn't available to play. So somebody obviously had to replace him. And lo and behold, it was a young Knappensschmiede product, Paul Poparel. He came in, got the start. I was surprised he got the start, and not in a bad way or a good way. Just I was surprised. I wasn't expecting that. But to go with the rest of the lineup, Karius, Ayhan, Katic, Kuricay, Normal, Valentevich, El Fauzi next to Poparel, and Vitalie Becker, and then obviously Antuyaji, Karaman, and Silla up top. But talk about the youngster getting the start in this one. It seems like Meyer Muslic is letting the youngsters, has faith in the youngsters this season.
Which we're never going to be upset with, you know what I mean? Like, we always love to see that as Schalke supporters, bringing people through. I don't think Poparel had a particularly great performance in this one, but I thought he was fine for the most part. It was a little bit surprising. I would have thought that, you probably would have given, Bachmann the start or somebody like that, maybe, looking at the bench. I'm not sure who else, would have made sense. But, you love the trust that, the manager's putting in the youth. And so far this season, it's been, paying dividends for us, you have to say. Look at, Vladovitz over on the right-hand side, too. He's still, once again, not an amazing performance from him either in this one, but solid shifts though from a lot of these youngsters when they come in and they're making an impact, and you're going to need that over the course of a campaign if you're fighting for promotion, whether it's injuries or just rotation, whatever.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it gives us more depth. It doesn't mean necessarily that they're all going to be stars and whatnot, but they're getting opportunities, right? Aha's gotten a boatload of opportunity this season with Timo Becker's injury. But now, obviously, Valentevich coming in, Poparel, and some of these other guys. Obviously, Vitalie Becker getting his first, start this year. These guys gaining confidence, and now it gives us a little bit of depth. I talked about on Monday how, now if you look at the right wing, what that used to be our really weak spot, Valentevich is playing really well at the moment. Then you got Porat and Gantenbeim, who both have done solid, intermittently this season. So got a little bit of depth there. Also, Henny Matriciani, who can play on right side or left side. Same thing with Porat. And then, and a little
play
bit
anywhere on the pitch. Go Triciani can play anywhere on the pitch, any position. True.
I thought he was going to play maybe defensive midfielder. I mean, I don't know. He could. The GOAT can play anywhere.
I agree with you. The depth is super important, and later in the match to be able to sub on both Lasme and Gomez like at the same time and have both of those guys flanking Silla when you started with two other players is great. So like now that he's healthy and everything, like I agree.
I want to get your take tonight before the end of the podcast about possibility of selling Ihan. We'll get to that when we get there, but yeah, we know. So we know obviously the youngster is going to start in there for Schallenberg in this game, and looking at the home team, Düsseldorf. Obviously, two of the guys, Muslia and Reimann, were the guys who were going to be danger men for them, as El Azuzi as well, who's been pretty good for the years for them. And so those are guys who I kind of looked at with them, and Castamar as a solid goalkeeper. Other than that, I couldn't tell you too much about any other Dusseldorf players. Any ones that stood out to you, if any?
Dude, where's my boy Appelkamp on the bench?
Yeah.
That's the one that I'm usually keeping an eye out for. But I think those are fair shots.
Very cool to see that the youngsters are getting their opportunities. So this game was an interesting one to start the game. I think it started out very, very, very feisty. The curious thing for me, obviously, heading into this season, we didn't know who our manager was going to be at the time, and one of the main talisman who potentially could have been in that role, Marcus Anfang, sits on the opposition side now, leading Düsseldorf, who are not doing so well this season, and makes you wonder where would we have been if we had Marcus Anfang. Obviously, Marcus Anfang is known for more of like the offensive type of football, but his team is second to last or bottom of the table, while we are sitting at the top. I mean, think about that. Just think about where we could be if we had Marcus Anfang instead.
Yeah, for sure. But every situation is different. You don't know how Muslic would have done at Düsseldorf versus Anfang coming to Schalke. But yeah, it seemed like that was a name that was around for a bit, especially if it was like a week and a half, 2-week period where that was like really hot for a bit, and it seemed like that was maybe almost kind of close to happening, or there were some serious talks happening or something. But anyway, yeah, always interesting when you then have that matchup, like you said, later in the season, and kind of can check in on how that almost would-be manager is doing. But yeah, no, I mean, I think Düsseldorf looked good in this one. Personally, I thought they gave us some issues like across the board, so I wasn't like disappointed in their performance or anything. And I think I'm interested to see kind of what happens with them for the rest of the season under Anfang before I kind of pass judgment on anything.
And by the way, if you come out to the song "Fortuna" for your game, how can you not get pumped up for that? I love hearing that song. But heading into this game, both Karius and Schalke had more clean sheets than they had all last season, and now after this game, more wins. But the interesting, funny thing, as kickoff was getting ready to start, you see this sign in the stadium that says "No fireworks in the stadium," as fireworks are going off in front of the sign. I'm like, clearly somebody didn't get the message there. I thought it was going to delay the game a little bit with all the smoke. It didn't really end up costing anything. But as always, the Dusseldorf Ultras, making things interesting. At least they showed up for the home game. Good home crowd. Like you said, Dusseldorf I thought played really well in this game, made it difficult for us. A little cagey of an opening there. I think as early as 8 minutes in, Dusseldorf really started trying to get in the attack, had this cross into the box. No one really there to kind of meet the ball at the end there. But it seemed like neither team was really trying to take many risks. It was trying to be more like conservative and try to see this game out. And I think that's sort of fed into what Dusseldorf wanted to do, because obviously we like to get the goal scoring early and kind of go build on Music's tactics there. Thoughts on how the slow start for us without the goal and the kind of cagey open, the feistiness that Dusseldorf provided?
Yeah, I mean, I thought after the first 10 minutes or so, it was a really kind of back and forth first half, and you said pretty cagey, like you said. But they had moments where they looked as dangerous, I thought, as we did in the first half at times, or close to it at least. They looked like they had something in them at least. I thought they were really effective in wide areas a lot of part of this match, pulling us out of shape a little bit, which other teams seem to be a little bit less capable of doing. So they just had they really, I think, used a lot of the width of the pitch against us and manipulated some things. So that was interesting to kind of keep an eye on going forward. But unfortunately, towards the end of the first half, things heated up a little bit.
They did. We saw there was I think in the 31st minute, Karaman had a great shot that Kastenmeier was forced to save. And then the 43rd minute, Silla got a chance in the box, offsides, but Schalke was starting to heat up there. And then in the 44th minute, off a throw-in, We talk about Atuyaje being so good on the throw-ins, as is Valenteves. Both guys can really throw a deep ball, which is nice to have two guys versus, we've had one before, McKennie and some others in the past. But, we got two guys who can throw the ball in, and the ball goes into the box, finds its way, I think, to Kenan Karaman. Shot gets saved off the line. Katic comes in, goes for the diving header, and gets kicked in the face. Referee calls a penalty. Legit penalty, Jack. I have no argument with this. This is a dangerous play by the defender. I understand you're in a tricky situation. You're trying to clear the ball, but you can't put your foot in a player's face with the ball there. It's a dangerous play.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a high boot in the box when there's like a simultaneous contact with, the guy's trying to get a shot off on goal. So I think it's fair to call a penalty there.
And sure. Of course, who's going to step up? Kenan Karaman. It's his 100th game. I didn't even mention that to start the game, but 100th appearance with Schalke. Steps up. You see that the defenders are like yapping in his face too. I don't know if they're talking shit. I'm sure they're talking shit, but trying to get him off his game. A little bit lengthy because they had to check to make sure it was legit.
Very lengthy. He really had to. They made him wait on that one for sure, but he kept it very composed and barely looked up that entire time.
They try to ice him, but he had ice in his veins and then put it away 1-0 just before halftime. Great way to get there to halftime. He comes off actually at halftime. I didn't notice any injuries or anything. I'm hoping it was just something small and they just took him off as a precaution. He got the goal. I don't think we would have needed him at that point for Muslic's tactics, already up 1-0. But thoughts on the goal and then him coming off at the break?
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like it was kind of written a little bit, for him to score on the 100th, appearance, but also in front of a former club, like on the road, like that. It kind of felt like it was kind of predestined a little bit, but not the most convincing of penalties from him. It was a little bit closer to getting saved than some of the other ones were, but hey, it's back in the net, and he's been super consistent on those for us all year. So love that, and I loved his ability to kind of stay focused despite the icing attempt, or not that it was intentional, but it took a while for that to get sorted out.
It did, and like I said, I don't know what the reason was behind him coming off a halftime. Maybe he was trying to, I don't know, but
I thought I saw a quote that he had like a muscle injury or something, and he had tweaked it in the first half, I thought.
Okay.
Or something, and then I think the explanation I saw was that he said that he can kind of tell if it's something that he can continue to play with, or if it's risky to continue to play with it. And he felt like at halftime he was like, I don't think I should go back out there right now. I should kind of evaluate this and whatever. That's what I saw. I don't know if that's accurate.
Okay. But that makes sense, and that's what I was hoping. It was anything big. As a precaution, they took him out.
Yeah.
And we got Brian Lasma, who came in for him, and it's good to give him some extra minutes. He's been doing quite well for us. Obviously, had the game winner last week, and so it was nice to see Brian Lasma get a run out in this one in the second half. Started the second half. Kind of had some fireworks, kind of kick it off 10 minutes into the half. First of all, Vitalie Becker he's having himself a season, and he's endeared himself to the fans because of his work rate, his hard miner mentality defensively, but also offensively. And there's a sequence in the 55th minute where he's going back into the corner against, I forget, maybe Muslic or somebody, and he's all over him, knocks him down. No fouls called. Play continues, and he just keeps on the ball, holds on. He ends up getting away from the defender. Ball finds its way to Atuyaje, and in comes Oberdorf, who, by the way, had a yellow card already in the first half. Cleats high. I didn't notice this at first, but cleats high into the ankle. Second yellow card, red card, he's gone. Initially, I thought, oh, wow, that was a soft penalty or soft foul on Oberdorf, and you watch the replay. It's clear, cleats high, and I'm okay with that call. How about you?
Yeah, I think everyone was like, yeah, he's holding his jersey, but kind of a thing. But yeah, at the end of that, like you said, he stepped on him for sure. So I think it's valid. It's fair. But to the Becker comment, I mean, I think look, my assessment of Becker so far this season for the most part has been hey, he's a youngster, and so given that context, he's playing quite well. He's putting in really good shifts. He's not a defensive liability for the most part, and he has these flashes going forward and in possession that are quite promising. Yeah. This game was an entire step up from that, in my opinion. This was by far and away his most complete game. Obviously, not just because he scored his first goal, which we're going to get to in a minute here, but as you just mentioned, the defensive play, and that there was multiple defensive moments where he actually seemed for once that he was kind of bullying people, or being able to match the physicality of older, more experienced players around him and actually like effectuate things on the defensive end, as opposed to just kind of like hang on and be like, part of the defensive scheme. So I thought he singled himself out there as well. But you also, you were talking about the Silla offside in the first half. That's Becker getting up into an advanced area, playing a really nice ball. And like there were moments in the first half too where he was effectuating things. So I thought this was a fantastic performance from Becker overall, and certainly the most well-rounded as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And when that red card came in, when the red card was given, part of me was a little worried there because we haven't fared too well when we have been up a man this season. And it's most recent as 2 weeks ago when we played Münster, when we went up a man advantage and we couldn't do jack squat. And to add to that, we actually looked worse of the two teams last 2 weeks ago, where Münster looked better. They had more opportunities on the offensive side. And so I was like, okay, this game was going really well for us for the most part, in terms of possession and all that stuff. And now it's going to be a man advantage. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen here. But what I've loved about Myron Muslic is this season, when things have not gone his way, he'll tweak something and fix it almost instantly, whether it's in game or in the next game or next couple of games. We got to see immediately 2 games later that he's learned his lesson from what he did against Münster. And this is probably a better team maybe a little bit better team than that Münster team. And they got possession right away. They were able to dictate a little bit more and started creating opportunities. Obviously, you mentioned some substitutions came on as well, Gomes being one of them. And ultimately, it was off a throw-in. One of the guys who came in at halftime, Lasso flicks it on to Gomes. Gomes comes in, sees Becker, who this is what I want to see when we're up a man, is take advantage of the numerical numbers. And Becker pushes up on the left-hand flank, receives the pass from Gomes, kind of does a similar footwork that Karaman did last week in the opening goal, gets past him, and then looked like an attacker, sets up his shot, gets the goal, nice finish, and then jumps into Muslic's arms. What thoughts on the whole sequence there?
Runs 50 yards or more to jump into Muslic's arms. Muslic was right there. He made a point to cross over to celebrate with his manager for his first goal. Look, I'll say the touch immediately preceding his shot got away from him a little bit and was not the touch of the striker, and he was fortunate to kind of get there before the keeper. But took it well once he got there, and a couple touches prior to avoid the defender as he was receiving that pass in the edge of the box were, quite deft. So, yeah, for him to have, once again, the energy later in that match to still be making those aggressive runs out wide into space, and then, just great finish. Loved it. Really, the cap on a really good performance from him.
Yeah, it really was. It was nice to see. And, again, that's all I really want is, like, when you have the man advantage, you have to use that numerical advantage. You can't let them bully you like Münster did to us. I thought we did. We learned a lot from that other game 2 weeks ago. And then, seeing Becker just push up like he did, stretch that defense, and got the goal that he deserved. Added to the game that he had a very super complete game, and we win the game 2-0. It's worth noting Peperl made it to the 80th minute or so before he got subbed off. I thought he was an okay game. Like you said, nothing too crazy. What I did notice is that he was almost involved in every set piece in terms of being one of the options to kick it. So that tells me that he probably has good set piece ability from Grappenschmiede. But obviously Becker and Antuyaje, those kind of guys, they're going to supersede him in the hierarchy when it comes to that. But overall, we win. Muslic said if they got a clean sheet on the road that they would get a day off, and they got a day off for sure. So great win all the way around. I understand it's a team that's bottom of the table, but it's a clean sheet, and it's a lot of pressure being at the top of the table. I'm good with this win. How about you?
I am as well, and I love Muslic adding like little things like that to keep them motivated when hopefully Schalke's players don't need to be motivated to like get promotion and win a title and those kind of things, but they're having a great season compared to what they've had. They've rattled off a couple results, and I like him adding things like that to kind of keep people interested and keep people motivated over the course of the season. Like, hey, you get a clean sheet on the road, you get a day off. There's extra incentive to kind of be sharp, be on top of things. Despite having just come off this emotional high of a victory against Paderborn and playing a much lower table team. So I think it's just smart management. But yeah, I think it was still an important result. Like I said, Düsseldorf looked dangerous and competent at times in this match, and for us to to see it out and get like another clean sheet, 2-0 result on the road after having claimed, top of the table and everything. It just sort of shores that up and kind of cements it and keeps the momentum going. And I think that was huge.
I'm so happy you mentioned the attention to detail and making sure that they catch these little things. I don't know if you caught it, but at halftime they recorded the speech that Muslic and the players, the leaders of the team made, and I think it's worth watching here. What they said at halftime. This is right after we went up 1-0, and we're in the locker room here. So here we go. Little bilingual here. Kind of, saw the writing on the wall that this was going to happen and get that second goal. And second goal we did. Vitalie Becker, sitting there in the front. It's just good to see. Obviously, Muslic going to talk in English, and some of the other guys talking English and German, and you got to mix everything there. But they understood that first half wasn't good enough. You talked about how Düsseldorf put up a challenge in that first half, and I thought second half was a much better performance. Yes, we had the man advantage, but nonetheless, they kind of noticed these attention to details and adjusted, and we were aware that the possible, bombardment that would be coming from Dusseldorf, and they were prepared for it, and they got the win. I love seeing that little snippet behind the scenes there, Jack.
Yeah, and I think it's just smart to, calm the players down in that moment. Like, they have the lead, keep them focused and keep them not like antsy about letting that lead up or whatever, and reinforcing like, hey, you have a ton of space because you have a man advantage. Like, actually, if you play too fast, you're not actually taking advantage of that gift. The calmer you are, the more measured and deliberate you are in some of your decisions, the more you're actually going to be able to exploit like the fact that you have that much space and not give the ball away cheaply or make the wrong, those kind of things. So like, yeah, I agree. I think it's good halftime adjustment and good things to focus on.
One of the comments that was made by one of our, I think it was Asynchron or somebody who in the chat on Monday said, why didn't Dusseldorf really attack our left wing more? Especially you have a two young players on that flank, and I think really it comes down to the structure, the design of how we want to play defense and want the opposition to. We basically dictated what the opposition was going to do to us. That's why I think they couldn't take advantage of Valentevitz and Ihan. Yes, those two guys are the weakest link on the team in terms of age and experience. But, having a guy like El Fauzi is going to run all over the place, and having guys like Atuyaje help support and, Katic all over the place, they didn't allow Dusseldorf to take advantage of the youngsters. And I think that's all comes down to coaching and design. What are your thoughts on not letting Dusseldorf exploit our weaknesses in this game?
No, yeah, I mean, I think if you're gonna include young players in the squad, I think that has to be. I mean, look, people shouldn't be playing if they can't do the job, obviously, and kind of like do their performance. But like, also, I think we also understand that there's some level of like stewardship and kind of like mentorship and responsibility that takes place a lot of the times. And so like, if you can manage to play in a way where there is help available and you're not like putting people on in an isolated situation one-on-one. Yeah. Constantly getting smoked against somebody like, Gotriciani was in some of those situations at times in certain campaigns where like we had no depth back there, and he just has to go in those games and just fight for whatever he can, but he's just getting cooked for like, you know what I mean? Like, so like I mean, I know what you mean. It's nice that there's that dynamic to help shield some of that.
Oh, we win the game. Overall, good play by the team overall. You wonder always when we win these games, does anybody make the kicker 11? Well, we did have a player make the kicker 11, a player who we've been highlighting in this podcast. Vitalie Becker makes the kicker 11. Well deserved, like you said. I agree. complete game, one of his best games for us, and obviously he gets his first goal. Happy to see that he gets a recognition. I'm surprised we didn't get a couple more shouts in that kicker 11, but hey, I'm not gonna complain about that. You look at overall performance in the game. Even like SofaScore rated him the highest. You look at his performance in this game. Played 85 minutes, got some shots off, good dribbling, all over that flank. I mean, look at that. Defensively, midfield, everywhere. He's all over the place. Some key passes. Wasn't necessarily accurate, but he did what he had to do in the game, and we won the game. It was in his, but like you said, he wasn't a liability on his side, and he had a complete game from front to back. So, thoughts on him making the kicker 11 there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think obviously didn't watch every of the other performances from left backs or wing backs, whatever. But yeah, from judging just based on this, I think it was well deserved. Yeah, I thought it was a tremendous performance from him. One of the first times this season where it wasn't just like, yeah, wow, he's doing really good for a youngster or in a certain context. It's like he was affecting the game on his own, like legitimately just out and out, which was, I thought, like a step for him. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, and to your point, some of the guys who didn't do so well, Valentavitz didn't have the greatest of games. It was okay, as was Paperl. And Musicilla really didn't have much to do in this game. I think he has been, especially in this game, he was involved a lot, just not necessarily in the 6-yard box. I thought he dropped deep a lot of times, get the ball, made some nice switches of play for the striker to do. So I thought he was so active, but in the final where it matters, I guess, on the score sheet, made no contribution, so I can see why he got the lowest rating there in the game. So it is, take that what you want. Becker, after his goal, says, "My first goal, I'm just speechless. It was so loud, scoring a goal in front of more than 20,000 Schalke supporters. There are no words for how happy I am." So showing how many supporters were away there. We talked about 22,000 away. And then obviously he's excited about his first goal there. So happy that he finally gets his goal there for us. So yeah.
Yeah, you basically had like a proxy Nord curve, to celebrate with that one. But yeah,
it didn't have to travel that far, did they? Just across the river there. We did talk about it is Kenan Karaman's 100th appearance in the game, and Schalke obviously had a nice little design for him, a little graphic there for him. Good to see. They also made a nice video of this. I don't know if you got to see this, Jack, but they made a little video of Kenan Karaman from this season, which is nice here. It's a minute. We're going to play it real quick. And I think it's English and German. I think English subtitles, so for everybody else. The Golden River Derby. And then obviously this brilliant goal here. Okay, so having a good time with Kenan Karaman there. It's funny because you look at the montage of all the different plays for him, and a lot of the penalty goals. He does step up and take penalties. He converts a lot of them, so he deserves some of them. But it's just it's a good video there, a good package there.
The thing that's so funny to me is like obviously that the goal video they showed at the end is like from the recent match. Like it's like one of the more recent ones he scored. But like as far as non-penalty Karaman goals go, that's actually like kind of the template for like what I think of when I think of a Kenan Karaman goal, which is like he inexplicably has like 3 or 4 deft touches inside a telephone box, like somehow, like where he randomly goes into like Bundesliga 2 Messi mode and like pulls off some like ridiculous finish. Yeah, and he's had like several of those over the years, which is just crazy. And we had talked about the one against the other week, another good one. So but 100 appearances, it's crazy that's already been that many. So I guess it goes quickly when you have this many games in a season, I suppose. But glad he didn't leave a couple of years ago. Sometimes there's been discussions in the summers. So I'm glad he stuck around, and obviously he's been a huge locker room presence and leader and setting the example, which is always important. And it's clear that he has feelings for the club and a relationship with the fans and everything. So.
Yeah, in fact, this summer he told Baumann when he joined on board, he said, "Look, I love this club, but I can't be part of another losing season. I said, we need to be a team that's going to fight for something. That's all I want to be part of." And sure enough, him and the club are going high. And he had some nice words on Twitter. It says 100 games for this club, 100 times fighting for these colors. Yesterday was something special. Celebrating this anniversary with a victory makes it even sweeter, or makes it better. Thank you, Schalke, for every moment, every cheer, every challenge. So really cool to see. He even says, proud to reach this landmark of 100 games for this special club. So kudos to Kenan Karaman. He's been our talisman this season. Every season it seems like that he's here. And I talked about this on Monday. He is starting to go down in terms of historical in the 2000s. I'm talking about as one of the better captains. He's not Benedict Hovius. I'm not saying that, but he's starting to get his name as for his longevity and big moments. He's getting up there, Jack, in terms of best captains in the 2000s. At least in my opinion.
No, I think he has to. He's been with the club through some really difficult periods and stuck with us despite that, and has had some huge goals and huge moments. So, no, I think you have a deep respect for anybody that's kind of like with you in some of the darker days and everything. So yeah, I appreciate Kenan Karaman for that for sure.
Well, transitioning to another player from the 2000s, Gelsenkirchen celebrated their 150th anniversary as becoming an official city. And so thus there was an official jersey that was created to celebrate it. And who did they bring on to promote this jersey but old Joel Matip, the recently retired Joel Matip, looking good in the kit there. Can we get him too on a free waiver?
He comes out of retirement if we get promoted. Book it now.
Do it. I'd love to see that.
But I think half of the Schalke faithful that saw this woke up and were like, transfer notification, and they're like, oh goddamn, it's just a shirt. But it's a sick shirt, in and of itself. But for a second, I think we were excited about something else.
I think this year that they've nailed it with all the kits. With this one, that blue and pink one they had earlier, obviously the home and away ones, the third jersey one as well. It's like I want to buy all the jerseys this year, man. They're all good. Speaking of all good, the women, man. The women have been killing it this season. They scored their 100th goal of the season already. They won 6-0 against Billerbeck. Goals from, obviously, Mandy Islacker, Julie Dahlman, Laura Radka, Alessandra Vogel, and Nell Schmidt. Nice to see them get a victory. They're blowing away the league at the moment. They got a good lead on everybody else. They weren't the only ones who were in action. The Knapp and Schmiede U23s, they won 5-0 against Wiedenbroek. Let's look at some of the players there. They won 5-0. That's what all that matters. That's all that matters there. U19s, they won against Meppen. Nice to see that 2-1 victory there. Unfortunately, the U17s lost to FC Clev 3-2. So we got a game coming up this weekend. Our friends, Nuremberg, who are mid-table, 11th place. This is a difficult game. All the games in this Vitalie are difficult. But it's not going to be any easier because of some injuries. Yannick Bachmann and Schallenberg train individually today, so they may be able to go. Hopefully, Schallenberg, he's fit. I want him more so than Bachmann, but I don't want the guys to come back and start if they're not 100% fit, because we can't risk having injuries, during key moments of the season. We got AFCON coming up here in a month's time. So, hopefully both of those guys are fit. They are starting to train around. Unfortunately, Ayman Gulashi, the youngster, he got injured this weekend in the U23s. tore his ACL, out for several months. He made I want to say he made 1 or 2 appearances early in the season in a sub role. A lot of promise with this kid, but unfortunately, that's a big injury, man. That sucks at a young age, any age, to get an ACL injury like that, Jack.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Obviously, it requires a ton of rehab and whatnot. And to have that right as he's trying to break into the first team is not ideal.
Well, from bad news to good news, I thought we end the podcast on a good news. Loris Karius had a big day. He and his wife welcomed a new baby. So they got the baby's coming, I should say. She's pregnant. Her baby hasn't happened yet. It's like she looks pretty good for a woman who just had a baby. She didn't have a baby yet. But they're expecting another kid. So good for them. Good for them. It just we're all in a celebratory mood. We win 2-0. Got a game against Nürnberg coming up, and then obviously Braunschweig to end the Hinrunde. So far so good. We win this game. We're Herbstmeisters, I guess, if you want to call it.
I guess Karius has had enough time back there keeping clean sheets to do some family planning while he's sitting in goal during some of these matches. So
yeah, I mean,
good for him.
And we say that in jest, but it's true. He really hasn't had much to do this season. I mean, when he's had the chance, when he's had to do something, he's come up big. But for the most part, this defense has just been so stout with Katic and Korachai in particular, but Ihan and even Becker to start with, and the wingbacks. We got something good right now, and I don't think we're at our best. We've been talking about the last several weeks how we hope this isn't the peak of our offense. We hope that there's another levels they can reach. I think this defense can too. We're still very weak on the flanks and the direct ball over the top. Düsseldorf tried both of those in the game against us, so we can still get better. And that's scary for the rest of the league that we haven't even got our peak yet and already got a 4-point gap. We'll see. But we got to stay focused, as Muslic said at halftime, continue to focus on the details and onward and upward, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee that we'll continue to play as well as we have so far going forward, but it's nice to feel at least as though there's a ceiling that's yet to be tapped entirely. So that's probably, like you said, scary for the rest of the league and hopefully encouraging for the players and for fans.
Yeah. I think we can be happy the way Schalke's playing. Are they playing great in every facet? No, we know that. But they're getting results. It's better than being a wonderful attacking team who can score goals, but we can't stop anybody, right? We're in a much better position than we have been in probably a decade, almost, maybe, with exception maybe 1 year. So that's it. Unless you got something else, Jack. It's nice to talk about the game, especially when you win.
Are we still in single-digit goals allowed?
Yes, we are. 8 goals allowed. Next best is Hertha with 12. Amazing.
I mean, it's crazy.
Here's another crazy statistic. We have the best defense in all of Germany. Bundesliga, Zweite Liga, Dritte Liga, don't matter. Best defense. Even Bayern. Different league, obviously. But nonetheless, I just had to put it out there.
Pretty incredible given that we were 60-something last year. Pretty remarkable.
Night and day. Well, speaking of night and day, it is night here. Let's wrap this up, Jack. Where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMMangan on Twitter.
I can never do that if I tried. You can follow me at R_KHARMEN. More importantly, follow us at Schalke America all across social media. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe and like and follow us. Try to put as many videos and content on YouTube as possible. But we're obviously streaming in other places like Kick and Facebook and Twitch and other places too. So we appreciate the support. Share it with us to your people. So you can spread the word, the gospel that is Schalke America. So next game this Sunday. It's not a Friday game, Jack. It's Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, 6:30 Jack time, Chicagoland. It's gonna be an early one, but hey, it's gonna be a cold one too, at least here in the States. For Jack,
there's no more F1 for me to watch, so Schalke can have my undivided attention on some of those mornings. There you go. Yeah.
There you go. All right, folks. Catch you guys this week or after this weekend, and hopefully there's some more celebrations to come. Glück auf.